There's great debate as to why women are avoiding intimacy with their partners. In this video, we're going to talk about the real reason. I'm going to give this to you from the perspective of someone who's avoided a lot of intimacy. My partner and I struggled with intimacy for over a decade, but I'm also going to give you the perspective of someone who now helps couples. I want to start by saying that not all men and women are the same. So there's lots of reasons why someone can avoid intimacy, and I break all that down in an extensive list in both my men's and women's free training. So go check that out if you want to really understand all of the ways and figure out which ones may be impacting your unique situation. Today though, I believe that there is one at the top of the chart. There's an overarching umbrella category that is the real and most common and present reason as to why women are avoiding intimacy. Let's get into it. Welcome, my name is Janelle and on this channel, you are going to discover the lifestyle changes, the inner healing, sex tips, and relationship work required to revive the intimacy in your relationship and deepen the connection in your marriage. The real reason women avoid intimacy with their partners is because they don't feel safe. Now, before you go saying, well, just leave a relationship if you don't feel safe, or why would you marry them if you don't feel safe? I want you to slow down for a minute. What I'm talking about is good relationships with good men can still experience a lack of safety. When we think of the word safety, we often also think of the word danger, right? You're either safe or you're in danger. To be clear, I'm not talking about abusive relationships or being in danger inside of your relationship. If you are in danger inside of your relationship, if you are being abused inside of your relationship, you should absolutely leave. However, what I'm referring to is a feeling of safety. So safety is not the same as not being in danger or being in danger, right? We kind of use these words very similarly, but that's not always the case. Let's pull out our thesaurus for a minute. How do we feel when we feel safe? We feel relaxed, calm, at peace, comfortable. So when I'm saying that they feel unsafe, they're not feeling relaxed, they're not feeling calm, they're not feeling at peace, and they're not feeling comfortable. So what are they feeling? They're feeling alert, guarded, having to modify their behaviors. They're not feeling heard or understood or cared for or seen. And for women, without this need being met, having regular intimacy feels unsafe. This is the deeper breakdown as to what's going on. In my 15-year relationship and all of the couples that I work with, they never actually describe themselves as feeling unsafe. These would be the words that they'd be more likely to use. And upon further investigation, you start to realize that you're actually living in this very guarded state, very similar to if you were being chased by a bear, right? Elevated cortisol levels, elevated stress, tension in the body. Before I continue on, I want to be clear that it's both people's responsibility in a relationship to create a feeling of safety. Most often there are things that both sides of the relationship are doing that are contributing to this being the current dynamic. What I'm not saying is he makes her feel unsafe. What I'm not saying is you make your wife feel unsafe. What I'm not saying is your husband makes you feel unsafe. I'm simply saying you feel unsafe. That is the state of the situation, regardless of whose fault is there. Oftentimes, it's actually a combination of what both of you are doing to create such a dynamic in your relationship. As I was doing research for this video, I actually saw another video on a similar topic. And in the comments, someone said, what are you scared of? What do you mean you feel unsafe? What are you scared of? And so I thought that was a really interesting question. When we're feeling unsafe, we're responding as if there is something to be afraid of. So I think it's a very important question. What are women afraid of? What are they scared of? Again, these are often words that they would not use to describe it, but this is the actual internal feelings, if they get honest, of that tension, of that being on high alert, of guarding, feeling like they need to protect themselves. Let's talk about what's really going on for them. I actually give a very extensive list of all of the different intimacy blocks that can be present in your relationship in the men's and women's trainings. But these are some of the big categories. Not enjoying the intimacy that we're having an unenjoyable experience, not being able, feeling like we're not able to speak up. Maybe that's because we don't know what we want. Maybe because we feel like our partner isn't willing to listen. Maybe we feel like our partner isn't willing to change our approach. Maybe we've been harmed in the past. Maybe there's painful intimacy present, but we feel like we can't speak about it, or that there's something wrong with us because we're experiencing this. Women are going to enjoy and thrive in different aspects of intimacy that men are going to. So if the pace feels too fast, often it feels like we have to move a lot faster than we want to move. Or it feels like my body isn't ready for something that you're ready for. Like maybe my turn-on's at like a 3 or a 4 warming up and you're like ready to go. So that the experience often leaves me either in discomfort or unfulfilled or feeling used and not really taken care of with my own needs. And of course, when it comes to any intimacy block, something I often hear in the comments is like, well, why wouldn't she just tell him? Or like, if she just told me. And it's like, well, if she just told you, how would you receive that? Because sometimes it feels, again, there's lack of safety in the communication. What is the response that I'm going to get? What is the openness that I'm going to get when I share with you what I need? And maybe she doesn't believe that her partner is going to be willing to do that or open to doing that. And therefore it feels like, well, then my needs don't matter and that they're expecting me to have sex in a way that doesn't actually feel enjoyable for me. So do they even care about me? Oftentimes, those things about being a woman often don't feel honored in relationship. It feels like we are expected to move at the pace of our male partners. We need to be able to care enough to be willing to try on a completely different approach. Here's the truth. A lot of men have their ego wrapped up in sex, right? Sex makes them feel confident. It makes them feel powerful. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. What I am saying is that oftentimes men are resistant to doing it in a different way. And what they're not getting is that if they approached this differently, they would get an entirely different response from their partner, which would make them feel wanted and desired and boost the ego in all of the good ways that they want it to. But instead, often what I'm seeing is like, well, why won't she just fulfill this need for me? But in order to have sex with a woman, we need to learn about women. We need to learn about the specific woman in your life. Changing this dynamic often comes back to communication. If we're ever going to feel the safety to feel intimate and not avoid intimacy, we first need to be able to feel the safety to communicate openly about what's going on. So how to talk to your partner about intimacy is a quick video workshop where I actually break down for you, how do you get your partner open and on board to work on intimacy? How do you bring up these emotional and sensitive topics in a way that redirects your relationship to a more connected one? So, okay, you want to create safety. How do I do it? It's an entirely different approach to intimacy. I share all of this in thorough detail inside of my free trainings for men and for women. Go check them out below. We need to know what's going to create more safety, more emotional connection, what's going to create more desire for her, what's going to create more enjoyment for her. What is it that her body and her heart needs? This is not about our male partner doing a whole bunch of work. This is work that women also need to be doing. So let's talk to the women for a minute. You need to understand what it is that you need. You need to be able to stand firm in what you need and ask for it instead of just avoiding intimacy altogether. But at the same time, you feel empty, you feel disconnected, you feel like you're just coexisting and wanting more from the relationship, which is why I teach my intimacy revival method both to men and women on both sides of this relationship dynamic. Because there are things that both of you can do to create the change you want in your relationship. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it valuable today, and please subscribe to my channel so together we can help you revive the intimacy in your relationship.